And here we are. Welcome back to Sharp Cinema here on Area DMG. I think this is week number 45 of, let's see. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. Yeah, 45 of 52 for 2023. And I'm thinking that number 45 for 52 of 2023. 45, 52, 2023 should be a film I saw recently, which I was not familiar with this director. I wasn't familiar with the director. Was not familiar with the actor. Nothing in this movie are people that I know of. So it was kind of an odd choice, but weirdly enough, it's a choice that I got because it was recommended to me by someone at Barnes & Noble. Now, I appreciate suggestions for movies, especially if it's a movie I haven't seen before or not one I would normally pick up. That's what these are about. These are kind of like free discussion of movies, and this particular movie actually kind of reminded me of, I have a movie, I think it's called, like Sound and Fury or something like that, and it was a documentary about deaf culture. And this movie that I'm going to talk about here is directed by Darius Martyr. I don't know what else they've directed, but I'll have to check that out. And that's what I recently saw. I have a pretty good sound system, and this is a movie that uses a lot of different sound. It's a long movie, but it didn't feel long. A lot of it just felt kind of painful because I have my own little weird journey with when it comes to like hearing loss and deaf culture and stuff like that. And this movie is The Sound of Metal. There's a lot that kind of goes into this. You see, certain things do actually give me anxiety and kind of scare me a little bit. And sometimes people would know that, and they would take that weakness and exploit that. And there are people I've known who are horrible, and they would just, because like for a little while, for several years actually, I thought I might be slowly going deaf, but not really. It turned out just like my at the time my an abusive ex, they know who they are, would tell me, "Oh, you forgot this," when I didn't forget something, or "Oh, you need to check that." There's certain types of micro abuses that people put up with, and some of this was essentially a micro abuse where, let me move this closer a little bit. Come on, move a little closer. Boop. There we go. But no, where people would talk a little bit lower, or they wouldn't say something like, "Oh, didn't you remember what I said?" Or, "Oh, did you check?" Like, I would go and I'd lock the door, right? And then I'd go to the car. "Did you lock the door?" So I'd go back to check to see if I locked that. There's those little bits of gaslighting and such. And Gaslight's not on my list this year. It's a good movie, and I recommend it, but it's not on my list this year. Sound of Metal is, though. And Sound of Metal is about a drummer who loses his hearing. But I thought for a while that maybe I was kind of losing my hearing. So I actually started doing more research on sign language because I wanted to learn at least finger spelling. I can kind of hold a conversation, a small, limited conversation, but still conversation, in sign language now. I taught myself a lot of American Sign Language so I can literally order food and other items using a combination of finger spelling and just basic symbols and such. This movie is kind of amazing because oh my gosh, so many aspects of it. Like the main character's initial resistance when they find out that they're going a bit deaf, and like there's a whole bit there with cochlear implants. There's a controversy with that. The deaf culture, hearing culture. there's some things, this does a really good job of presenting a drama about a person just growing frustrated with losing a sense. It felt like, okay, I don't just watch movies, I feel movies. And I felt this movie. The Sound of Metal has some amazing use of sound, of course. It has some amazing use of framing and pacing, and the acting is just perfect. There are times where there's a lot of signing with no subtitles, which would make this a trilingual film, which, there's English, and no, it's bilingual. It's English and a sign language. And then subtitles for stuff, so you kind of learn a little bit with the main character. It's a little bit this, but of course, one thing I always thought was kind of funny is, oh man, now that I look back on it, if you've seen The Shape of Water, the main character in that one is deaf, and some of her sign language, especially her finger spelling, is super awkward because it doesn't flow a bit, because there's certain ways that you do that, like pointing, But yeah, The Sound of Metal. This was a really good film. I sat down and watched it and was just kind of blown away by it. The way that they presented it, everything that the character goes through, the drama of it, the uncertainty of it, everything in it just adds up to a brilliant performance, a really well-made and emotional movie, and I wholeheartedly recommend that you check this one out. I think it's on like Amazon or something as well. But it's one of those where I like owning physical media, so I liked owning this. And to the person that recommended it at Barnes & Noble, dude, you were right. It's a good movie. And because like when people are like, oh, this is my favorite movie, I'm like, well, cool. Not my favorite movie, probably not in my top 10, but somewhere in my top 50. I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, by the way, this is not a top 50. The 52 2023 is just an experiment to kind of put out a video each week for an entire year about this type of thing and see how it does. I don't care if it does well, I don't care if it does badly. I just made it to make it. Kind of similar to an earlier movie that we talked about called Dave Made a Maze. I just made this to make it. And The Sound of Metal is there to just kind of, it's not trying to make any statements or judgments, and the way that it's presented is just, it works. Oh gosh, and there's a speech in there about, because there is, in some cases, in this particular case there, when it comes to some deaf culture, there is a little bit of recovery, but also not to view losing hearing or being deaf as a disability. Deafness is not a disability. It is a thing that happens, and then you deal with the thing that happens. It can either be, you could consider it bad or something to fix, and that's probably the wrong way to look at it. Actually, a lot of the main characters' basic reluctance to therapy and such, or learning to be deaf, like when he goes to the school there, the person there tells him, you're going to learn to be deaf, learn to live deaf, because as much as we like to think of technology as something that can cure all, life happens, and sometimes you just take it as it goes. Now, this character lost their hearing due to some other things. I know many people who've had other disabilities or other issues because of poor life choices. What you do, what you eat, what you look at, what you put into your mind and your body will affect you in the long run. Garbage in, garbage out, that type of thing. The people you surround yourself with will affect you. What you choose will have an effect on you at some point. Like, for example, I know people who've had the same issues with addiction that the main character in this has. And I know people who made poor choices with certain stuff and now have things attached to them that they will never ever, they will have just to learn to live with it. There's certain things where you can't look at some things as a disadvantage or a disability. Like if you lose a limb, okay, you lost an arm. Now what? You could put on like a prosthetic or whatnot, but you also need to be at peace with yourself. And a lot of this movie, The Sound of Metal, it has multiple meanings for that, like the metal music, the metal of the drums, the tinnitus, that tinging sound from hearing loss, the muffling, and other things too, which I won't spoil. But it's important that you go into this movie and just kind of let it just watch over you. So let me know in the comments below what you think of it. I wholeheartedly recommend it. And it's our choice this week. So go out there and check out The Sound of Metal, or Sound of Metal. It was really good.
Morning, Maya.